Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to Vidiot Entertainment Studios for this episode of Vidiot Movie Reviews. I'm the nerd Lust Daddy, and today we continue our series reviewing every North American live-action video game film adaptation theatrical release. And today we review the sequel to a film we previously covered, Silent Hill Revelation.
Oh, this might be okays.
Cha Pidds. The first one was alright and had some really nice imagery, so let's see how this one holds up. Now, Silent Hill Revelation was released in North American theaters on October 26, 2012. Another attempt at cashing in on the season. Now, at this time, 17 games had been released in the series in combinations of mainline, spin-off, and compilation releases. We will, as usual, stick to the mainline releases, and those are Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, Silent Hill 4 The Room, Silent Hill Origins, Silent Hill Homecoming, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and Silent Hill Downpour. We're going to be using Silent Hill 3 for comparison as the film is an adaptation of it. Now, the plot for Silent Hill 3 picks up years after the events of Silent Hill, as it is a direct sequel to it. We open with teenager Heather Morris having a nightmare where she is trapped in a dilapidated amusement park and eventually ends up being killed by a roller coaster. She awakens from the nightmare, and we find her currently at a burger restaurant in a shopping mall. A strange man named Douglas Cartman approaches her and tells her that he has information about her past. Heather, afraid of the strange man and his claims, runs away from him and finds that the mall has become nightmarish and is abandoned except for the monsters that inhabit it. She runs into a woman named Claudia who claims that Heather will be important in bringing about paradise on Earth. Escaping from the otherworld version of the mall, she runs into Douglas again, who explains to her that Claudia had hired him to find her, but that he was unaware of this otherworld or Claudia's intentions towards her. Heather then leaves the mall and goes home, only to find that her father has been murdered under Claudia's orders. Heather then decides to go to Silent Hill to seek revenge against Claudia and discover the mystery behind her past and Claudia's interest in her. Now, the film plot centers around Sharon De Silva and Christopher De Silva, who have been on the run for years, bouncing from town to avoid the Silent Hill cult known as the Order, and taking on assumed identities, including their current identities, Heather Mason and Harry Mason. We open with Heather having a nightmare about being trapped in an amusement park on a merry-go-round, surrounded by fire that threatens to close in upon and consume her. She awakens with the memory of the name of the town Silent Hill, which she promptly writes down. After meeting and talking with her father downstairs in the morning, she heads off to school, where she ends up being approached by a strange man who acts as if he knows her from somewhere. Disturbed by his approach and claims, she heads off to her bus and heads to school. At school, she meets a boy named Vincent Cooper, while wandering the halls and suffering visions and hallucinations of Silent Hill and its creatures. While attempting to run from the visions, she attempts to warn her father of what is happening and that she is still being followed by the strange man from before. During this, there is a knock at the door to their home, and her father ends up being kidnapped by the Order. Heather then ends up finally being cornered within the otherworld version of the local mall and confronted by the strange man who reveals that his name is Douglas Cartman. He tells her that he was sent by the Order to find her. They then end up being attacked by a monster and Douglas is killed. During this, Heather's jacket is left behind, which leads to her being pursued by the police as a murder suspect. Heading home, she discovers her father is missing and finds a letter explaining her true background and memories about Silent Hill and the events of the first movie. Vincent shows up and explains that he was sent by his mother, the leader of the Order, Claudia Wolf, to capture Heather and bring her back to Silent Hill, but no longer wishes to, as he has realized everything that he has been told about Heather is a lie. He then offers to take Heather to Silent Hill and help her find and rescue her father. Alright, so we seem to have some similarities here between the game and the film. I have to give them props for keeping some of the events and plot points either directly the same or quite similar between the game and the film. I found the plot overall to be a bit by the numbers, but still engaging enough that I didn't become bored and lose focus on watching the film. All in all, it did the job, and I think I can give the plot a hawoo. Pidds, what did you think of the plot?
Hawoo!
So what about our setting and world representation? The cinematography certainly doesn't fail here. Much like in the previous film, we get wonderfully dark and haunting imagery that is very reminiscent of the games. Dark and disturbing locations, drip with a sense of dread and that unmistakable washed-out oil-painted look. Frequent imagery throughout exudes that psychological horror type that the games are known for that causes fear based more on the twisted psychological effect of what you are seeing, as opposed to a sense of physical threat caused by it. We get plenty of monsters, both original and from the games, that meet these same criteria and are a joy to see on the screen. I can give the setting and world representation a hawoo. Pidds, what did you think of the setting and world representation?
Hawoo!
Let's get to the characters here. As usual, we're going to be sticking with the ones that are at the forefront and those played by major actors. Let's start with Vincent Smith, played by Kit Harington, who you undoubtedly know for his role as Jon Snow in the show Game of Thrones. Here he plays the son of Claudia Wolf, who was sent to try and bring Heather back to Silent Hill. The performance is good, as expected from Kit. It gives a sense of a young man torn between his upbringing and loyalty to his mother, but that cannot go on due to realizing that this young girl is not what he has been raised to believe. He gets a hawoo from me. Pidds, what did you think of Vincent?
Hawoo!
Harry Mason, Christopher Da Silva, portrayed by Sean Bean of GoldenEye and the Peter Jackson The Lord of the Rings trilogy fame. He returns here as the adoptive father to Heather, who is willing to try and protect her from her past and the Silent Hill cult The Order at any cost. The focus isn't on him, and he doesn't have a large screen presence in the film, but when he is on screen, he is enjoyable and believable. I can give him a hawoo. Pidds, what did you think of Harry?
Hawoo!
Claudia Wolf, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, most notable for her role as Trinity in the Matrix film series. Here, she is the sister of the first film's antagonist, Christabella, who is trying to carry on and succeed where her sister failed. The role is played well and believable as an insane leader of a cult willing to do whatever it takes to bring about prophecies foretold. I can give her a hawoo. Pidds, thoughts on Claudia?
Hawoo!
Heather Mason, Sharon Da Silva, portrayed by Adelaide Clemens, who you may recognize from her role as Catherine in The Great Gatsby. Here she takes on the lead role of Heather, the girl disturbed by visions of Silent Hill, and her potential link to it. I found the performance to be good overall and exude a young woman haunted by an unknown past, as well as fearful of the current happenings around her. A good performance overall, and one that I can give a hawoo. Pidds, what are your thoughts on Heather?
Hawoo!
Alright, let's jump into our final verdicts here. The plot is surprisingly good regarding how close it is to the source material. And even though it's not very original and typically what you'd expect from a sequel, it's still engaging. The setting and world representation shine once again with the cinematography and monster design, nailing the look and feel of the game. And we also have some really good actors that put on believable performances in their roles. Let's turn to the Pidds first and see what he thinks. Pidds, what did you think of Silent Hill Revelation?
Hawoo!
Cha Pidds, I agree with you here. This film was fairly entertaining. While it certainly didn't break any molds or reach the upper echelons of horror movies, it was enjoyable and kept a lot of the similarities to the source material, while still successfully implementing some of its takes on it. I can give this one a 60s out of 10s. This is an above-average horror movie that I think fans of the Silent Hill games will enjoy, as well as fans of the horror genre in general. Just be aware that the horror is mostly found in the psychology of the imagery more than in any imminent threat to any protagonist. While it certainly didn't break new ground and won't win any awards, it's a decent enough popcorn horror flick to take up an evening with. The Pidds and I want to thank you all once again for tuning in to Vidiot Entertainment Studios for this episode of Vidiot Movie Reviews. If you enjoyed our video, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share to show your support. And don't forget to also check us out and subscribe on Twitch, as well as follow us on Twitter. Until next time, I'm the Nerd Lust Daddy, as always reminding you all to not be chit futters to each other. Body autonomy for all, reproductive rights for women, and peace, love, and happiness to all. Take us home, Pidds.
Thank you all again for watching. See you again next week.